You're listening to My Inner Teacher with Peter Darius and Krystal Ariel. The answers you seek are within you.
Yeah. I learned about you in Miami. I became a yoga teacher back in 2014. Your song Nectar Drop is just iconic, especially, like in the yoga world with classes, everyone plays that song. And I remember back then it was so fresh, because everyone was playing like this either very Indian music with sitars and very traditional, or they would go off into something else that they really just something having nothing to do with yoga. And so when I learned about your music, I was like, wow, this is such a beautiful blend of taking something that's traditional or taking the spirit of that and modernizing it or blending it in a way where I can relate to it in the modern day. So that's the reason why I was like, let's talk to you here on My Inner Teacher, because you're clearly following what do you think about that when I said your inner teacher?
I know this teacher well. That's what I think. Like it's I didn't think of it as my inner teacher, but I know what that is. Like if I look back throughout my life since I was a child, I've experienced my inner teacher. And I've also questioned my inner teacher a whole lot. Still do, but not as much. So it's very apparent for me. Like it's not something abstract for me, even though it is extremely abstract. But for me, it's part of just the way I function, I guess.
Drez, I want to ask you, at what age do you think you noticed that you were a little different than all the other kids?
Pretty early, I think, because I'm the youngest of 5 kids. And the examples I saw through my siblings, and then I always had older friends, is just that maybe I want to do something that they're doing, but I don't access it, or maybe can't access it the same way, or it doesn't make the same sense, or I have no interest whatsoever. Like team sports, no desire. Soccer is interesting, or like, international football, but I know when to follow. Like I know the value in that, and at the same time I'm really into, if everybody's going to do that, let me try this, because that exists, that's beautiful, but let me go this way because I like other things.
Yeah, I know that well. Even this podcast is an example of, everyone's doing it. I don't think I'm going to do it. Plus, I didn't see the time. Where am I going to fit it into a busy schedule? But then these angels come, and the angels have a message that we're supposed to hear. And these particular angels were persuasive in a way that is unusual. And they did it with kindness.
More than ever, kindness, sweetness is such a beautiful way to get access and to give access. Yeah. I'm with you. I understand that very well.
Yeah. So this music that you do, where did that idea come from? You must have been at the forefront of this whole genre. Is that fair to say?
I would say within the yoga space, and within the hip hop space, also. So there were people who were doing like Chabi Sabah, and like he would be a big one as far as bhakti goes, like putting mantra with beats. He had hip hop influences, but he was more of an electronic kind of, I don't know, club kind of drum and bass kind of, some of it a little noisy, a little fast, much of it beautiful. he would mix up some hip hop stuff, but I'm very much my work. Like I grew up a hip hop kid, and so
Where
there
was
was,
that?
huh?
Where was that?
Oh, first like 19 years of my life, I lived, no, 18, 19 years, I lived in about 20 miles south of downtown LA. And then I moved out around 19 or 20 and to Venice Beach area. And that's where I lived most of my life. Yeah. Um, but yeah, hip hop it samples from everywhere. You could take any genre whatsoever, sample it, put a beat behind it, or just put a rapper over it, or DJ doing something to work the music, and then it becomes hip hop. And I remember wondering, like, or I remember hearing a song and be like, oh, I heard my mom listening to that, but they did something different, or you know, whatever it was. And it just opened up the world of finding the original samples. And that's how I fell in deep love with reggae and jazz and old soul and Indian music. So I found a love for just the sounds of the East from throughout the East, from Africa and into Asia, and it felt there was a home feeling when I heard that sound. And with Indian music specifically, it was Indian classical music. Like I got into like some Bollywood and stuff like that for sure, but the classical music was so beautiful. And some of the stuff I was listening to was devotional music, and I didn't even know that term at the time. I just knew it was Indian music, and I liked it. And it wasn't all India; it was spread out. It might have been from Bangladesh or wherever, Pakistan. And then so throughout the years, you know, I would sample pieces of records and or play some things in DJ sets. And then I started to produce music around. I started DJing around 90, 91, and then around 98, I would say I started producing, like really producing music. And I had these old Indian records that I loved, so that was part of it. And then, tell me if I'm going too far here.
Not at all.
No, this is great.
Okay. And then started practicing yoga around 2000, 2001. And the more I got deep, I started with asana, but the more I started going deep, I was listening to these mantras and learning them and like, wait, oh, I know that from this record, Om Namah Shivaya. I had no idea what they were saying, but now I'm hearing it with context through the practice. And so that's the short version.
Yeah. No, Krystal, I'm on a thread here, so I'm not trying to hog the screen here. But
No.
so when I got reached out to by Chris Miglino. Do you know Chris?
I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure.
He started the first yoga social media, not social media, social online social community called Conscious Enlightenment. And so he was way ahead of his game. It was kind of off the shoulders maybe of MySpace. I think he was a tech guy with MySpace, and he kind of moved into this kind of spiritual yoga community building. And at that time, I had been, a yoga teacher, and Dukkha hadn't even really started yet. I think I was selling mats out of the back of my yoga studio and out of the back of my forerunner at Yoga Journal conferences, And he reaches out to me and he said, Peter, you don't know me, but I've got this community and online, and I didn't even know what that meant. And he said, we'd like to produce some yoga DVDs for teachers like yourself that haven't really been recognized for what they do. And so that was a nice thing to say. And I said, well, sure, no problem. And so he produces this DVD, and he had a budget for the music. And it was a beautifully photographed DVD by a guy named Mickey Willis, who has kind of grown into this Elevate film company. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because we got done with the voiceover and the film, but we were going to add music. And all the music that they had arranged was pre-recorded and it didn't fit. And he hired a guy named Stuart Balcom. Do you know Stuart by chance? LA-based sound guy. Again, I think way ahead of his time. He composed literally music for the imagery on the screen. And I spent probably 80 hours easy in his studio in Venice, in a room about the size of your room, it looks like, filled with all sorts of technology and producing sounds, instrumental sounds that he had digitally, I don't know the terminology, you know it probably better than I do, but he had all these sources of different instrumentations and sounds, and it was all acoustical music. And I just saw how much technology is involved in what you do. And that, here's my question. Did you have a love for technology, not just a love for music?
It was the love for music for sure, because for me it started with dance. Like hearing mixes or songs, or remixes of songs, where it's just like, wow, that's amazing. I wish I could do that myself. So I got a $100 mixer from Radio Shack and had my 2 tape decks. Well, it started with 2 tape decks, but then a tape deck and then kind of an old beat up turntable. And that's how I started to make tapes. And so technology is, learning the technology is a requirement. I would rather not. I would rather focus on, if it's turntables, I would rather focus on the techniques of the skill of scratching and being musical with it, or mixing and getting tempos right. And, but then if there's an issue, you have to know what to do. If you're on stage, and something goes wrong, or be right, right before coming on, I realized, oh, this computer doesn't have headphones, and it says suggest wearing headphones, and I'm like, so let me hook up. I have a studio here. I have a nice mic. I have gadgets, interfaces to make this sound so beautiful and professional. But I ran into some things that who knows, the way I hooked it up the last time, or I'm just like, okay, that's not going to work. So let me pull out my computer, my laptop. And then there was an issue with that. I couldn't sign in to my email to get the link. So I went back to this computer without headphones. All that being said is, the requirement of technology has made me more techie. And having to go from, like, you see all the buttons and knobs and stuff back there, like, there's definitely learning curves and tech things that you must know with that, and then you bring it into the computer. So everything in my room, like, I have a lot of physical things, like synthesizers and mixers and different things, but then you put it into a computer and now so no, I'm not that techie. With that being said, I have to be good at what I do. I've been forced. And it's cool because I remember reading years ago, probably in my 20s, the best things you could do after 40 is to learn a new language or learn a new instrument, and which is like learning a new language. So I figure some of the ways that I just stay sharp is learning tech stuff, and that's what my inner teacher tells me anyway.
Mm-hmm. And now that we have AI, I'm sure all of that is getting a lot easier, because you can just hum something into an AI music generator and then it'll produce a beat I
It
mean,
is.
not that you would do that, but now
No,
you have that ability.
I embrace all of it. Like I nothing is taboo for me. Um, and this kind of goes back to hip hop and actually probably skateboarding as well. Is I grew up a skateboarder, like serious uh, deep love for it, like serious stuff. Not rolling around on a longboard, but like the empty pools and the handrails and stairs and all that crazy stuff. Um,
That's yoga.
so so it's another version of just a mind body discipline for sure. Um, but I bring that stuff up because everything has what am I trying to say? There's many uses for one thing, and oftentimes when things are used, like something like a turntable was never meant to be used as an instrument. It's used to play records, but if you rub it a certain way and you do this and that and then you take a mixer that is simply meant to fade over fade out a song, but now you're scratching and using something and you're turning down the knob and now you're going yeah yes dibba dibba yeah yes or people see a parking block or a handrail. It's something you hold down to get down the stairs easier, where a skateboarder is like, that is an obstacle. That's something I could have fun with. I'm going to slide down it on my rail. Or now I'm going to flip the board and land on it. So that's how my mind works for everything. And I don't even remember the question you asked that made me...
There,
About
I don't.
AI, using AI.
AI. Oh, okay. So yeah. So like again, a record is like that's a song, but I might hear a snare drum or a kick drum or a little piece of a saxophone that has the right timbre that I could turn it into a drone that can be used for shavasana or meditation. You would never know where it comes from, but it turns into the soundscape. So yeah.
How do you, like when you're using the base material as, say, someone else's work, how does that relationship affect your art? Like, what if you hear a great song or piece and the artist is either not cooperative or the artist is dead or, like moves
Yeah, sure.
on?
Hey, quick note. Peter's Inner Teacher Academy is launching soon. If this is resonating with you, head over to innerteacheracademy.com and grab a spot on the wait list. These trainings are intimate and space is limited. So if you want to be first in line, tap the link in the description below and sign up.
You can also see details about my 2025 retreats at some incredible locations around the world, like Iceland, Austria, California, and New Zealand. Attendance at these trainings will count towards in-person hours for the Inner Teacher Academy. And now let's get back to the magic.
I don't like the music that I put out on that is available to the world on the streaming services, Spotify, Apple Music, all that. None of that is like I'm not sampling any well-known music. Like the Something's Happening Here song that it's called For What It's Worth. You guys know it. If you heard it, you would be like, yes, I know it. That is a cover song that I made my own version of it and put in Indian instrumentation, and it's a Buffalo Springfield song. You would know it right away when you heard it. So in that situation, I do all the licensing the proper ways, and but if I'm going to sample something, the way I flip it, the way I tweak it, chop it up, do things, you'll never know that it was something from a record necessarily. Or if I do it, it's a record that is just, the label doesn't exist. The artist, like, it's stuff that is, I'll tell you this, as far as like the, what would be the word?
Ethics?
Ethics, thank you, ethics. I'll bring up Roy Ayers, who I'm a big fan of Roy Ayers, and it's because of hip hop. It's because people sampled his music, and I went and looked for him. If you don't know who he is, he fits in the jazz fusion, funk kind of world, and he recently passed away. But he was one of the guys that was known to acknowledge that, hey, my career was revived because people sampled me and then they looked for me. So then he continued to make new music and work with actual hip hop artists. And Bob James is another one. I don't know if you know that name. He did like the theme for Taxi, which is an old show, but from Run DMC to the most current people, like his music is still being sampled. He's another guy who's like, I want to work with you guys. I want to sample you. You know what I mean? And it's like when hip hop did that, they revived people's careers. They made labels reissue across the board, from funk and jazz to rock, reissue music because as hip hoppers, we turn people back onto it. We're an encyclopedia for sound, and we're a history lesson, and we make people interested again. It's crucial. I find it really unfortunate when artists are just like arrogant and just, oh, that's not music, and you know, it is. There's a great thing said about hip hop, which is hip hop never invented anything; it reinvented everything, and it truly did.
Well, and that's a great testament to life. You know, like we all think that in America, especially, you know, the land of the explorer, and you know, this whole idea that the land of the free, and we're gonna create from nothing. And in reality, we're all kind of borrowing and repurposing it from day one, really. And especially in the creative arts, like we take our influences from all of our senses, and it's hard to really own, you know, take credit for anything because of all the input we're getting all the time, and how that influences our likes and our dislikes and whatever. And I'm fully into this term codependent lately. You know, like that word codependent has been in a way co-opted into some kind of negative framework in, let's say, relationships between lovers.
I was just about to say that, but yes.
Yeah. And here's the irony is, if you're in a good relationship, you are codependent, you know, but it's exactly not with that label of what that word has become. The other funny word, not so funny word, is this word coincidence in English. And like when you describe your beginnings and the coincidences of being a skateboarder and being, you know, kind of on all these different forefronts at the times when they started to rise, is that a coincidence? And when we use that word coincidence, the way it means now is some rare event that, you know, it's almost impossible to conceive that it's going to happen. And yet, when you look at the etymology of that word, it's two things that coincide, two things that fit perfectly together. And to me, that's like, of course, a coincidence is just things that were meant to be together.
In just observing nature, and this is only through my experience, just, yes, what you're saying is like, that is the way nature works. It is the way it works. The coincidence thing. Like this is how we are at this point where we are, where we're able to be on talking on a computer, having a live conversation face to face, and wireless, and all these things. All these things, coincidences, whatever, made sense. Or I don't even know. Sometimes, listen, life is so abstract to me, and also art, and I love being grounded, and I love objective truths. I I think, science is delicious, and in such a deep
Delicious.
and
I love
see
that word.
and in such a deep way that it's spiritual. If you go there with it, so and it can even be like so much is abstract for me. If I ever start talking about something or there's a subject, please pull me back down because I can, like, because ultimately talking about life and art, like, they mirror each other, and so much of it is a reflection, and not to step away from coincidence and whatever we were talking about, but yeah, I could just go. So
You know
yeah.
what though? I believe. Well, sometimes I believe and sometimes I doubt, but mostly I believe that we really chose to be here at this time in this way. We chose our family, we chose our path. And so maybe your energy, your spirit, your prana, whatever you want to call it, before you entered into that body that you know as Drez, was like, I'm going to enter Earth at this particular time, and so that these things could come at me at the right moment and will eventually lead to this journey that I'm choosing to experience here on Earth. And thinking about that, I want to ask you about a pivotal moment that I heard in one of the podcasts that you were featured on when you broke your neck. Because there's a lot of people, when they find their inner teacher, something traumatic, something huge, something breaks, and that actually brings their life into alignment. So I want to know, like, how do you think breaking your neck led to you being where you are right now?
Yeah. My wife and I, we like when we're doing classes or workshops or whatever together, we talk about a lot of real life stuff, and we call those life trucks, getting hit by a life truck. And I mean, I was a week out of 8th grade. I had just started growing locks. I was skateboarding every day. Summer vacation, the first week, I break my neck. And I was 15. And like on my neck brace, I found this skateboard sticker. I didn't know what company or whatever, but there was someone in shackles. I put that sticker on my neck brace because it was like being in shackles. I remember being in there next to someone who was paralyzed in the hospital, and I was in the spinal broken neck area, and the doctor would come in every day and scrape a key on my foot to see if my toes would curl, and it was so scary. Like, it just sucked. It's interesting because I got a lot from it, and there was a lot from it a lot of fear that was created, a lot of overprotecting. And yeah, what was the question you asked exactly? Because that's deep. So many, like, good and bad, that still, like, I'm still getting over. Still, like, I have to work on mobility daily, looking left and right and up and down. That was stuff that I was scared to do. However many years after.
Yeah. And the
10 years
question
after.
is, do you think, I mean, if you hadn't have broken your neck, you probably wouldn't be where you are right now, right?
I don't know how to answer that.
Okay.
Because I kept skateboarding. I started skateboarding even when I had the neck brace on. I had to wear it twice as long as they thought, because it healed wrong and there were some issues. But I was just like, I'm not going to not skate. So I started skating again. And, sorry, what did you ask? This is what you asked. So I kept skating, and then the neck brace came off, and I was better than ever. I was hoping to get sponsored by one of the same companies that, like, Tony Hawk, for instance, was. They actually got back to me. Back in those days, you had to send a VHS tape in of what you do. And so then I got a knee injury. And I knew people who had knee surgeries that just didn't go so well. My dad included. My dad died when I was 10. That was probably the first. That's definitely the first big life truck. But I remember there was a knee injury with him that left him in pain, and that was a big one. That was like, I'm not going to do that, because I went to the same sports doctor. They're like, oh, we could cut you open and check out what's going on, and then do this and that, and probably put a pin in there and whatever. I'm just like, that doesn't sound good. Between my dad and then somebody else I knew, the knee surgeries weren't great. And I said, I'm going to heal myself. And during that time, music took over my life, because like it was really bad, the knee situation. And so what did I have? I had music. I had hip hop, which is not just music. There's graffiti art and there's other things that make up hip hop culture. But I was just so deeply in that already. It then just took over who I was. And
Would you say that takeover, at the seed of that takeover, is love? Like the connection that you have with this craft of skating, the emotions that created the thought of skating, the act of skating, the experiences of skating,
yeah,
generated this inner state of loving what you're doing, and where the separation between who you are and what you're doing gets fuzzy.
I think so much of what I do, first of all, yes. And so much of what I do is I think the root of it is in love. In that this experience is so amazing. Like, to be here, I'm regularly in awe. As an artist, as just someone who I've been hurt really bad. Like, I've broken my neck, I've herniated discs, all kinds of injuries. I'm still here. I've experienced loss of loved ones, family, and I know that it could go like that. So, and then art, to see the things people create, the music, from yesterday, today, and the future, I'm in awe of it. Sunsets, like, I regularly cry, or tear up from sunsets, or a beautiful people dancing, whether it's on TV or like it's right in front of me. Like, I'm easily, like, I'm very I don't know, in touch with my emotional side. Like, I'm not, like, my dad, like, I don't think I ever saw my dad cry, for instance. But my kids see me cry all the time. And, like, like, we were watching this, like, David Blaine, like, Nat Geo thing. And my daughter looks at, she's like, are you crying? Like, sometimes she asks, like, kind of surprised, oh, that's making you cry? Why? And I was just like, because their discipline means so much to them, and their art, be it magic or whatever, like, just, it's touching, and it's touching to see people's reaction.
Totally. The thing that I found, because I broke my back as well, the thing that I found is that we believe that the body can heal itself, and as a yogi, I know the body can heal itself. But what is the optimum mental state, emotional state for healing to take place? It's love. Like, and it doesn't surprise me that, when you first broke your neck and then the music showed up and it was something that you loved, you had things that you could supplement your healing process, whatever it was in those days, with this energy of love of something, love of music, love of art, love of family, love whatever. And to me, that's an underrated element of your medicine kit, like how can you create more opportunity for experiences of love as you go through healing? And I did the similar thing. It was, using very elementary breath exercises that when I broke my back, it hurt to breathe. The inhalation was like, the 4th of July fireworks up and down my spine. The exhalations weren't. So that was easy to figure out eventually after weeks of breathing, in pain, to just lengthen my exhales and shorten my inhales. And that gave me more freedom from the pain, which helped my parasympathetic nervous system. And so all of a sudden I had this new appreciation for breath. The other things that I really loved in those periods of healing was comedy, laughter. And I think laughter is also one of those underrated pieces of your medicine cabinet. You got to use laughter, especially at yourself. Keep lighthearted with yourself. So your journey is very, I don't want to say common, because it's not common, it's very unique, but it's common in the sense that many of us that have been humbled with injury have had to not rely on, my orthopedic said, listen, here are the side effects, not possible side effects. Here are the side effects of the surgery. And that didn't sound good. I didn't want to live. I'd rather take my chances, and which is what I did. And then luck comes into it. Like I got lucky. I think I had books show up, people show up, things showed up, so-called random things showed up to support me once I made that commitment to self-heal. And that to me is a miracle. And then that word miracle is kind of curious, because again, we've kind of taken miracle into the realm of the heavens. But there's a quote in I forget the author that I borrowed it from, but it's in my book, which is, miracles are nature unimpeded. I've said this before on this show. Miracles are nature unimpeded.
I love that, man.
It is so powerful.
And that's kind of what I was trying to say in a way earlier when we were talking about coincidence. Is just that all this stuff is just, it's who we are. It is the way we are made. That's something that I've had to not come to grips with, but something I've had conversations with myself about, accepting the miracles as this is our capacity. This is within us all. It's within us, inside of us and outside of us, to do things that are miraculous. I got 2 kids. I was there holding my wife's leg for both of them, watching them come out and cutting the cord and doing all that stuff. There was nothing like that. That is, we make other people.
Yeah.
Like, we are part of what makes up God. And that, like you were talking about, you think, you're like, I believe, people choose their experience. And I hear you. And I'll take it this direction is God. I'm using God for everything. For me, just in my own practice, I no longer put form to God. I used to, when what opened up the path for me early on as a teenager was Rastafari. That was my path. And then the yogis, which is a very similar path, the sadhus specifically. Giving up everything for God and growing locks and putting form to God. My form is everything. And so in my experience, this is only my experience, is the universe expands, and that is it shows that God wants to experience itself. And it's partially done through us. It's done through a grain of sand as well, I think. But so yeah, we chose, and yes, it's God making these choices In other words, it's nature making these choices to experience itself, so then it grows to further expand. And then, and this is through the things that I focus on. And I want to create more things to love. So I think that's where, like, my focus is sunsets. My focus is other artists, beautiful art. My focus is what can I do myself. And I know this is big. This is like but this is what it is for me. Like, when I look up at the stars, I'm not just thinking, oh my God, the stars are beautiful. I'm thinking, wow, what if I'm looking back at myself right now in some way? And when I chant Om, this is a practice that I don't remember what teacher I got it from, but I envision myself everywhere at once. And I mean everywhere at once, from the hair on an elephant to the toenail of my daughter to the antenna of an ant in places throughout the world. Like, it's so amazing. Like, I'm so in awe of all of this often. And I think what you said about being able to supplement things, something that is deep and sacred, or your art, or something on the body, supplement focus, and things to do, has been really useful for me in life. I know people who are close to masters, or can be considered masters of certain aspects, be it an instrument or a mind-body discipline or whatever. And I appreciate that so much. I love being good at what I do. It makes me happy. It brings joy. And at the same time, I love possibility. And there's a saying, the jack of all trades, master of none. There's something really special about that. And if you know like this, that's only a little portion of it. I wish we could, I'm not going to look it up, but look up the whole saying. It goes back to the idea of being able to supplement things in life. Don't let this one thing ruin you. Like, when I broke my neck, one of my brothers told me later that, or maybe my mom told me, said, he can't live this way. When I'm laying in the hospital bed, he said, he's like, if he's going to be paralyzed, I'm going to kill him. And out of compassion, because he's like, I know he loves he knows that I love to dance. He knows that I love to skateboard. And but I feel like there's something inside me, and mind you, like, some of the things that would bring me to depression or sadness is when I'm injured. I hate being injured. It sucks. And not being able to use my body. I love all the things. I love hiking. I love sex. I love, it's amazing. When I can't use all this stuff, it sucks. With that being said, I feel like because I could go into my mind and explore the way I do internally, that I think back to that every once in a while and think, well, number one, I'm so happy that I'm able to use my body. But if I was paralyzed, I hope and I feel like I would be able to still experience joy and love and the awes of nature, and be able to suck in breath is so pleasurable.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the most pleasurable things that we do, and amazing enough, we need it. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I've never smoked or done anything like that. And why I also acknowledge people that do. People who smoke, they're going to take a break to breathe. Unfortunately, they're doing it with a cigarette, but they're taking a breath break. I'm feeling stressed out, let me go smoke. No, what they're doing is going to breathe consciously, if you think about it.
100%.
Anyway, that's just a random thought because I've never done it, so I have these conversations with people all the time because I'm interested in, I'm curious about the substances that everybody does and that are popular and trendy and all that. But I don't want to do that per se. I want to access it myself because I have through music and stuff like that. Um, but sorry, it's funny because I'm really not a big talker, but
Really?
not even, man. No, like that's why I'm a Hey, that's why I'm a DJ. I don't have to say anything. I could just play.
I
But
think it's in there, to be honest, Drez. I
you know
think
what it is? I've I've learned and forced myself to um the reason why I'm stopping myself of just what I'm saying is like I feel like I'm rambling, and like I've I've learned to I I've hung around people my whole life, be it rappers, teachers, MCs, yoga teachers, people who truly have the gift of gab, like who say the most beautiful things, and um, I admire that. Like some of my biggest inspirations are like Muhammad Ali, who was able to just flow and freestyle and be funny, and Malcolm X, who was able to just like exactly tell you what's needed to be done and the feeling. Like I love that, and that's not me. And people who there's like a way of speaking. It's probably called an academic way of speaking. Um, how you're able to just speak without emotion and things like that. Like, man, like I appreciate it so much, and it's so not me. Um,
we're happy about that, actually.
uh, Thank you. I've learned to appreciate it and respect it within myself. And I mean, like when you ask like the right questions, or when we're like it's casual and we're sharing, like it becomes easier. Um, but yeah, I'm a pretty quiet human. Like I've done a lot more observing than blah. Like just yeah,
I share many of the things you're describing. When I hear you speak, I don't hear rambling. I feel a creative mind at work, a creative mind that is so full of ideas that there's a slowing down of a part of your brain to analyze which one should I talk about, you know?
yeah.
So
It's,
it takes one to know one,
I
and
appreciate
and
that.
I have a daughter as well. I birthed her in a kiddie pool, and
You birthed
wa-
her, Peter?
oh, sorry, yeah, you're right. I assisted my wife birth. Thank you, Krystal. Thank you for that. But to watch my daughter, drop into this pool of water and then to just stay underwater, the midwife was just happy with the baby just kind of literally, it looked like she was swimming around exploring what is
Amazing.
this new environment that I'm in. And that lasted for 3 or 4 minutes before the midwife just slid her right up to the breast, and that was like,
Amazing.
instantaneous connection.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that moment,
Yeah.
and it's something that I my daughter was born when I was 52 years old, so I never imagined that I would be a dad at 52, and so that whole richness, and now that she's a 17-year-old, the word I use is not quite richness, it's more like craziness.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm just, it's all beautiful. It's all, even, when you were talking about you don't like being injured, you don't like being limited. I don't know anyone who likes it. And there was something that I learned from the teacher that I studied with for 20 years, which was don't get attached to your likes or your dislikes. And because why? They're temporary. And I would say this often: what's the worst pain you had when you were 12 years old? Like it would take you, a lot of memory bank to go back and think of, okay, what happened in that year? But we forget. And so that no matter how intense, breaking a back, breaking a neck, I don't know about your experience with that. It's intense. It makes it hard to think anything. So I'm in awe. I use that word a lot too. So we share a lot in common, and I'm glad that this podcast has created an environment where you and I can meet and talk. And I look forward to being in person and doing it as well. I want to just acknowledge too this ability that you have touches so many people, and I mean, I'm waking up to that fact. And Krystal, I would say you're woken up to that fact of how you
Yes.
bring lightness into people's worlds. And this podcast platform is really designed to start building a community around people that think the way we think or experience life as the way we experience life. That we have this cooperative autonomy, like we cooperate within our own autonomy to create abundance. And that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
I have a wife peeking in. Do you want to come say hi? She was in and out. She was going to join us.
Nice
This
to
is
meet
Nowhere to
you.
look. I'm just looking all around.
this is my
We're
this is
everywhere.
I was just peeking for breakfast. I wasn't sure if I should hold out or.
it's because I'm the chief of the family, and
Yeah, well, we're just about done, and I think it's been just an incredible experience for me personally to finally have a chance to have a conversation with you. I really respect you and what you do and the gift that you have to share with people. And I look forward to continuing in relationship, whether it's through a screen or at the next festival that I attend. So
I really appreciate you both. Thank you for having me, and I really respect what I do also, and I'm honored to do what I do. Like I think that's a big part of it. Is I'm not jaded by it. Like it's not like, oh, there's a formula and now I go by it and just I'm this pro when I come in, and it's much more of a, now this is happening. This is a new day, or this is a new, be it whatever, yoga class or festival or whatever. It's just like, okay, now this is where I'm at and how to be there.
that is the key, and it is the most authentic way of being. It's everything else in a way is conditioning. So thank you for being here.
It was so nice to meet you, Drez. Thank you for your words of wisdom, and it was so lovely to get to know you a little better.
It's truly a pleasure. We should do it again sometime. I feel
Yes.
like we just
We will.
We will. Part 2 coming soon.
Indeed.
All right.
Indeed. Yeah.
That's it for this episode. Be well and stay open to the teacher within. If you've enjoyed our time together, follow or subscribe and stay tuned for upcoming chats you don't want to miss.